I'm Gold Derby News and Features editor Ray Richmond, and I'm welcoming Brett Morgen, who directed the wildly inventive HBO David Bowie musical documentary film Moonage Daydream, to our Gold Derby Meet the Emmy nominees TV directors panel. Brett, Moonage Daydream is such an ambitious movie and so different from any musical doc I've ever seen, which I know is intentional on your part. Talk about your unconventional approach that's less biographical and more about having an experience with the artist and why you decided to go that route.
Well, I think that biography, particularly sort of as it's evolved today, is biographical documentary often follows a kind of Wikipedia kind of hit all the sort of major moments of someone's life. And, I just felt that these dates and facts don't really give you much insight into a subject. And in working in a visual and oral medium, facts and don't really lend themselves to me to sort of a cinematic universe, so to speak. So I wanted to sort of find a different way to present David's story that was less biographical, but had the same goal of kind of arriving at a truth. And with Moonage Daydream, what it was really trying to do is kind of, capture this sort of force, this sort of intangible energy that is David Bowie.
This was the first film about and featuring David to be authorized by his estate. So obviously they had incredible trust in you going in. What do you attribute that to?
Well, I had met with David in 2007 to pitch him a sort of hybrid nonfiction project, and his executor had been in the room. And so I think that really helped, that whatever David had a chance to meet me and whatever he shared with his executor. I think more importantly, David had told his estate that he never really wanted his work to be part of a sort of talking head documentary. By the way, I didn't know this until recently, that his feeling was in talking head documentaries, the talking heads experts tend to own the history and the truth. And he didn't really want to participate in that sort of endeavor. So when I approached the estate and said I was not interested in that type of film, I was interested more in a kind of artistic endeavor, it really seemed to resonate with them. And honestly, the only dictate that I was given was that David is not here to authorize the work, so it can't be Bowie on Bowie, it has to be Morgen on Bowie. And that was the greatest gift that anyone could have provided me, because in essence, they were allowing me to create an art project. It was, and it really came to fruition as an arts project.
It really comes across that way too.
Yeah, I think partially it's funny being on a panel, not funny, with TV directing and having directed episodic and knowing the time, this was Moonage Daydream was 7 years. And, ostensibly for the first 5.5 years, I was by myself as producer, writer, director, editor, which was really, that was again, its own sort of adventure that, has its own complications. But in this context and trying to create a kind of, again, arts and crafts project, for lack of a better word, it helped that it was really sort of created as a kind of, David's media myself for years, just kind of, particularly during the pandemic, just kind of marinating.
Yeah, I wanted to actually address that adventure, Brett. The Bowie archive had something like 5 million stills and films and dubs and assets to pour through over 2 years. And I hear it was so voluminous and laborious a task that it literally gave you a heart attack.
Well, truth be told, I had my heart attack as that media was being processed. So the heart attack was the result of my entire career, well, whatever, but a bunch of stuff. What was really frightening, if you can imagine, is being like coming out of a coma and facing 5 million assets by yourself. And that sort of, having to kind of figure out how to create this type of story, and which and having there was definitely a part of making the film where when you're by yourself, there's a reason we collaborate. You just, there was nothing to bounce ideas off. So it was definitely a challenge. But I came out of the hospital and almost immediately immersed myself in David's interviews and his media. And I fortunately wasn't sure yet what the story I was going to tell was going to be. And as I'm listening to David in this very vulnerable state, I just felt like he was giving me a kind of roadmap on how I can lead a more balanced life in the arts. And before I knew it, that became the film. It was basically like David sort of guiding me and me trying to transmit that through. And I remember one of the strangest experiences was I was at the premiere of the film at Cannes last year, and there's 2,500 people in the crowd. And I had this really strange feeling that I forgot everything about assembling it. I forgot that I created it. And I just felt that I was in a room alone with David, and he was talking directly to me as if this message, it wasn't applicable out elsewhere. And the fact that it was able to translate to audiences and go outside my limited sphere has been really exhilarating.
So facing 2 years of tackling these assets was your reward for surviving your heart attack.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was. I mean, listen, I don't think, respectfully to my peers, I don't think there's a better assignment one can have than to spend, years of your life immersed in the art and music and imagery of David Bowie. I mean, it was, during the screening process in particular for 2 years where I just had to absorb, it was the greatest experience.
And film is just so kaleidoscopic and beautifully rendered. I'm sure you've thought about this a lot, Brett, but how do you think Bowie himself would react to this?
Well, I never ask myself that with when I finish these films. It's a little too daunting. I get asked that, what would Kurt think of Montage of Heck? And what would David? I can't say. All I can say is that the film was created very much in the spirit of David's creations, and that I, for years researched, and he was very articulate about his process. So, we used oblique strategy cards. I mean, they were right on my Avid. I used them throughout the process. When I got to have an opportunity to collaborate with others, particularly my incredible sound team and colorist, I would share these ideas. And, the first conversations were like, listen, in order for this to work, we all have to be out of our comfort zones. The sound team, who they all won Oscars for Bohemian, they're so experienced. That's to ask them at 60 years old to we're going to do this, but it wasn't to take a left field approach to be left field. It was what David had shared with me, which is it's not the destination, it's the process, and it's about making each day as exciting and adventurous as we can be creatively, and to create an environment that's conducive for these sort of adventures. And I was, again, blessed that everyone kind of came on board this journey.
Well, I think actually we're going to wrap there. Moonage Daydream currently streams on Max. Brett Morgen, congratulations on your 4 nominations for the film. Best of luck at the forthcoming Emmys, and thanks for joining us at Gold Derby.
Thanks so much.